All right, welcome everybody. This is Jimmy Yen and welcome to the Anything is Achievable Health Podcast. So today, I'm super excited to have a special guest with me, Ben O'Brien. Ben, your middle name is Latto, right? Am I saying that right?
Latto, yes, that's correct.
Latto, yeah, great. So Ben Latto O'Brien coming all the way from Perth, Australia to talk to us about how to integrate nutrition, diet, and also into your own life, and also in how he utilizes in his acupuncture practice. So Ben, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me on, Jimmy. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so I'm excited to have you on our show. And so Ben, can you introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I sort of fell into Chinese medicine and health. I'm from a very long line of actually Western medicine practitioners. So both my grandparents on my mother's side were medical doctors. 3 of my 4 uncles are medical doctors. And my mother was an osteopath for about 55 years. So I grew up around patients and around treating. This is very normal. My mum always had a home practice. She really raised us. And I was constantly seeing patients coming and going all day, every day. So it was quite normal to be in and around that. And actually that turned me away from it a little bit because I was so saturated with this whole nutrition, health, healing. I didn't take to it straight away. It took quite a long time, but obviously it was a bit ingrained in me, in my genes, and going through that process. So straight out of school, I actually did something completely different than the family trade. I went and became a panel beater and spray painter. And when I was younger and I was interested in working on cars and playing guitar and all that sort of thing, I didn't want anything to do with the family business at all. So I went and did a 4-year apprenticeship and became a panel beater and spray painter. And then as I got a little bit older, realized that wasn't really going to be a very good career for me because it's not a very health conscious thing and using a lot of poisons and it's not ideal as a long-term career. So I got into Chinese medicine by accident, and the story basically is that at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with a very serious heart condition. I have a genetic disease called Marfan syndrome, which is in my family, and it's a problem with connective tissue and not being able to make the main connective tissue in the body, which is a thing called collagen. So with people with my condition, that's part of the problem. It's the main problem really is that when we try and make collagen, we can't make it, it's not strong enough. And so we have a lot of sort of, symptom means a collection of, a syndrome means a collection of symptoms. So it's not one thing, it's multiple things. And one of the main issues is that all the collagen that surrounds your heart is very, very weak. And so this can be the fatal aspect of having this condition. So anyway, I was diagnosed with this condition and immediately had to go in for open heart surgery at 26, really having no symptoms at all. So this was a bit of a shock, as you can imagine. And so my life took a very different turn at that point. And so I went and had this procedure done. It was called a Bentall procedure, which is kind of ironic because I'm quite tall and my name's Ben, but that's actually how it's spelled. Bentall. It was a French surgeon that came up with this. And so basically what that means is you have complete replacement. You have an incision made from your throat to the bottom of your sternum. This is major open heart surgery, so this isn't keyhole stuff. They crack your sternum open. They've actually got to replace your aortic semilunar valve and your entire ascending aorta. So it was about 9 hours of theatre for me, and a lot of people don't actually survive that operation. But the issue, it wasn't a possibility to not have it done. It was you must have this done because you're not going to live for very long if you don't. So I was really between a rock and a hard place. I was like, have this procedure done, you might die, or don't have it done and you will definitely die. So I wasn't very thrilled with those choices. But anyway, I had to have this done. So at 26, I basically became a heart patient, and I was always very interested in playing guitar. Music was my life. So after I had this kind of horrific procedure that went really well, so they told me when I woke up in the intensive care unit, they said, we're very pleased with how it went. Everything's gone brilliantly. They make you move your arms and legs and make sure that your brain's working and all this sort of thing. And it all looked pretty good. But the problem was that I had a left hand that was like a cerebral palsy hand. So this became a claw. And I could move the arm, that was fine, but I couldn't move the hand. And so, and I had to say to them, okay, it's great, everything's gone well, but something's happened to you guys. What the hell is going on? And they were kind of like, oh my God, they missed it, right? So they missed it. So they freaked out quite a lot and thought, well, you know, it's obviously, it's probably brain damage or he's had a stroke or something's happened to him during this procedure. So they went and took me, and I had a whole lot of testing done. I had cervical and cranial MRIs. Everything came back inconclusive. So they basically said, well, we don't know what happened to you. Something's happened to you. We've managed to successfully replace the bits of your heart that need to be done, but you've had this side effect, and we don't know what to do, and we don't know what the cause is. So, as you know, if you can't get a diagnosis, it's very hard to know how to actually come up with a plan to help yourself. So I sat around very depressed. This is a big operation. It took about 2 years for me to recover, which is about how long it takes for all the anesthetic and everything to wear off. And during this time, I had a lot of investigations done to try and work out what had happened to me and how do I fix this problem. So I went back to neurologists. I went to my cardiothoracic surgeon. He didn't know. He sent me to a hand surgeon. The hand surgeon didn't know. He sent me to a neurologist, and this person didn't know either. And by now, I'd spent a lot of money, and they did all the testing again, complete cervical and cranial MRIs. They did shock testing through the nerve to try to find if there's a break in the neuronal pathway. Yep. Everything was inconclusive. And so I was basically left with them saying, well, stop being a hypochondriac and get on with your life. You've had your life saved, and we don't know what's happened to your hand, so just get over it and move on. And that's not really what you wanted to hear at that point. So I still didn't have a working diagnosis. I didn't know what to do. I'd started going to chiros, I went to physios, I saw my mum, who was an osteopath of many, many years by this stage, but I had no working diagnosis, and that was very frustrating because I wasn't getting better. And the reason that it was such a problem with me with my hand is because I was an aspiring musician and I've always played guitar. So that was the end of that. I couldn't move the fingers properly, and you know, it was cold. I couldn't feel properly. There's a lot of numbness, so obviously there was some nerve trauma, and I didn't know what to do. And I tried lots of different things. Nothing had seemed to work. And I actually had a Chinese friend that came around who was also a guitar player, and he said to me, Ben, look, you know, you've tried all these different things, you haven't got a result. Why don't you go and try Chinese medicine, acupuncture? To which I replied, expletive, get out of my house. I wasn't open to that at this stage, and no one had suggested to me that this was the reasonable course of something to pursue. So my immediate reaction was, I don't want to know about it, right? That's just dumb, and it's not going to help me, and it's not going to work. And if it was reasonable, surely somebody with all these alphabet of letters after their names would have suggested, go and think about trying this. But anyway, I thought about it for a few days, and like many people that find Chinese medicine, I went, well, I don't know what else to do. I'll go and try it. I know it's not going to work. That was my mentality. I knew it was going to be a waste of time, but I didn't know what else to do. So I went and saw this guy, who's a guy called Lawrence Galeesh here in Perth. And Lawrence was also a lecturer at the only college that was teaching acupuncture at this stage. And, you know, he said to me, look, Ben, obviously this happened during the surgery. I don't know if I can help you or not, but we can try and see. And what I'm recommending that we do is a course of treatments. Okay, I want you to come in once a week for 8 weeks, and we'll work out whether, you know, you can actually get some benefit from this or not. And I said to him, no, I'm not doing that because this is not going to help me. I said, I'll give you one treatment, and if it helps me, I'm coming back. And if it doesn't help me, I'm not coming back. And he said, yeah, okay, that's fine, whatever, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So he took me into the room and, you know, started talking to me about yin and yang and blood and qi and all these things. I had no idea what he was talking about. I thought it was a bit weird, showing the tongue, take the pulse. And then he got me on the bench, he put some needles in and left me there for, you know, 25, 30 minutes, finished the treatment. walked me out to the reception and he said to me, "I'll see you next week." And I said, "No, you won't, Lawrence, I'll decide that." And he said, "Yeah, okay, that's fine, whatever, that's cool." So I got in my car and I was living in a place called Fremantle, which is about 40 minutes away from this clinic. And I was driving an automatic car back to my house, and I could move the arm and I could hold the bottom of the steering wheel with my left hand. And I remember on this drive having some sensation in the hand. And I was it took a while for my brain to understand that this was possible, because I'm like, I don't know what the hell this guy's done, but something is different in my hand. Because it didn't feel like that an hour ago. I couldn't feel anything, and now I can move the fingers a little bit and it feels a bit warm or whatever it was. And I remember getting back into my driveway and I sat there for probably an hour just feeling the steering wheel going, wow, I've got sensation in this hand. And that's just, it just blew my mind that this guy had managed to do something that no one else could do. So I went back in, I called him up and I said, book me in for 7 more, I'm coming in once a week. And every week I went back, and every week my hand got a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better until, it went from a claw to actually being able to move the fingers. Now I still have a bit of residual nerve damage, and maybe I always will, I don't know, but I can actually use the hand now.
Nice.
And so at this stage I had no money either, so I'd paid for these 8 treatments. I'd seen some significant improvement. I wasn't going to go back to panel beating and spray painting, so I thought, well, maybe I should go and study this. I'll go and study this and I'll learn how to continue to help my hand. That was my reason for getting into it. It wasn't about helping anyone else. I didn't care about that. It was about me and my journey to fix my hand so I could play guitar.
Wow.
And I guess after you go through about a year or two, then you kind of realize it's not just about you. And I thought, if I could learn this incredible modality and I could help other people that nobody else could help, that's pretty awesome. And so that's the reason that I went and studied Chinese medicine. It was only for going on this journey to assist my hand.
Yeah. Wow, that's I've never heard that story, so thank you. That is a great story. So you pretty much understand exactly what your patients are feeling, because you went through the, you weren't open. Oh, what is this? What is Chinese medicine? It's a bunch of, voodoo medicine. That's what people here in the US may say. And so going in, not thinking that it's going to work, like thinking it's not going to work, right? I
knew it wasn't going to work. I was absolutely knew.
So that shows, and that's a great point, because, for acupuncture to work, for Chinese medicine to work, the patient doesn't have to believe it to work, because you went in there and saying it was not going to work, but it still worked. And so that shows us that Chinese medicine is not a bunch of hoo-ha energy, that people, it's actually physical medicine. It can actually change, your physiology. So I love that. And also the fact that you're like, oh man, if I don't get any relief, after one treatment, not everybody gets relief after the first treatment, but the fact that for the fact that you did, and you were able to continue it, then you were able to see the miraculous results from Chinese medicine. So it's very encouraging to other people who have never tried Chinese medicine to give it some time, because like you spent how many years going through the Western medicine route? How many years did you go?
It was
through
two and a half, about that.
Yeah. So you went through every single specialist, right?
Yep. Lots of.
And so, and so other patients who are in your same shoes, doesn't matter, you've gone through others, 20 specialists, and nobody's been able to help you. Nobody's been able to give you an answer. Doesn't mean that Chinese medicine won't work on you. Ben is a prime example that, if you just give it a try, you don't know what miracles could happen. So that's awesome.